Well, good morning and welcome to Frankly Speaking here on WYDC TV Big Fox. I'm your host, Frank Aiken. We are broadcasting live from the Hesselson studio here on Market Street in Corning. I'm glad that you've joined us this morning. We have a lot to cover. We're going to get right to it, of course, in Minnesota and the shooting there by ICE agents. We'll talk about that in just a moment. Later on in the program, we're going to be talking with Amy Harpster about the St. Baldrick's Green Owl, an upcoming basketball game. As a matter of fact, it's on Friday to raise awareness and raise funds for St. Baldrick's. We'll talk about that in the 7 o'clock hour. First, let's go to viewer comments. Good morning, Frank. Well, good morning, Mark. The woman that got shot by ICE in Minnesota was totally right. She was dragging one ICE agent with her car and heading towards another. But the media and the Democrats say the opposite. But from what I watched, ICE was right. We are going to talk about that. I have a couple updates before that, and then we're going to dive deep into what we know. Of course, it is a breaking story. So as is the case with breaking stories, we don't have all the information, but we'll tell you what people are saying. New York Post put together some legal experts on what they're saying. We also have updates on Venezuela. First, couple quick things. Something that most Americans can agree on, which is a rare statement to make. 82% of Americans agree that the $38 trillion national debt is concerning. Interesting. Not often you see 82% of people agree on anything. But according to a recent poll, the $38 trillion national debt is one thing that everybody can agree is very concerning and something that should be a priority. There you go. Just thought I'd start off the program with that. Maryland Representative Steny Hoyer, the longest-serving House Democrat, is going to retire from Congress. He announced yesterday he will not seek a re-election this year, and he'll be retiring after serving more than, get this, 44 years in Congress. He said in an interview yesterday with the Washington Post, "I did not want to be one of those members who clearly outstayed his or her ability to do the job." Now you can be the judge of whether or not he may have already reached and surpassed that point. That's up to you to decide. Hoyer, who is 86 years old, plans to formally announce his retirement plans today on the House floor. He is one of more than 40 House members who have opted to depart the lower chamber by the start of 2027. Hoyer's district, southeastern Maryland's 5th congressional district, is considered a solid Democrat seat, so nothing would change. Senator Mark Warner, Democrat from Virginia, saying Steny Hoyer has spent a lifetime serving with decency, seriousness, and heart. I've been grateful to work alongside him over the years, except maybe those times when we found ourselves on opposite sides of the Maryland versus Virginia line, because no matter what, he was always a ferocious fighter for his state. We will be wishing him all the best in retirement. So again, Steny Hoyer is going to retire, the longest-serving House Democrat. Also, in a breaking story early this morning, though I believe it was probably announced late last night, Pennsylvania's governor, and this is not just for our friends in Pennsylvania that watch the program, though we do appreciate you joining us. It has national implications. Pennsylvania's Governor Josh Shapiro launches his re-election bid with perhaps bigger things in mind. He launched his campaign, that actually he's going to launch it, it sounds like, for a second term as governor with rallies in Pittsburgh and Philadelphia. But as he runs against a Republican opponent expected to be stronger than the one he faced 4 years ago, Shapiro will be looking to burnish his record in a state that has become the keystone for Democrats' presidential hopes, and possibly his own presidential hopes. Shapiro isn't just looking to win a second term or trying to beat his 2022 record for the most votes anyone has ever won in Pennsylvania. He wants to run up the score to help flip as many as 4 U.S. House districts in Pennsylvania, Boosting Democrats by dominating in a perennial swing state would be an accomplishment Shapiro could cite next year during presidential primary season. Shapiro will kick off his 2026 campaign alongside Austin Davis, who is running again to be the state's lieutenant governor. And what the Democrat governor says in a launch video is about another round of what he has been calling getting blank done agenda. I guess he too, Mr. Shapiro, has fallen into that trap, which is, I'm not sure why cursing became such a popular political move. We saw it yesterday with the mayor in Minneapolis, excuse me. You can't even repeat the language. And here he calls his agenda getting blank done agenda. And I'm not going to tell you all about the launch video. It doesn't really matter. He touted his record and his job approval and these type of things. Now, Stacey Garrett, the state treasurer, is looking like a potential candidate for governor to try to defeat Mr. Shapiro. An Army veteran who has cast her work in the role as fighting for consumers by saving and returning them money from the state, Garrity has run so far as going up against a politician who hasn't received enough real scrutiny. Like in an ad made out like a thriller mystery trailer that her campaign released at the end of last month, which ended with the tagline, "It's amazing what you can learn when you hide in the shadows." From the start, Garrity has been attacking Shapiro for, as her launch video put it, spending his time running for president and fundraising in California and other liberal states, raising money from far-left mega donors like Mike Bloomberg and George Soros, charging that the state has suffered in education standing and high prices in the meantime. Now, we know there was talk of Mr. Shapiro, Josh Shapiro, the governor of Pennsylvania. We thought, I still think, it would have been a better choice, obviously, that Kamala Harris was going to choose him for VP. Now, there's always been the speculation if maybe he didn't want it, if he wanted to turn it down. Now, in her book, she pretty much calls Shapiro a diva and wanted to be basically co-president if she chose him. Really pretty nasty language that she used about Shapiro. Now, we speculated at the time when we learned about it, he was mad about it. But we speculated at the time, was that her signaling that she wants to run again for president, trying to knock down a potential opponent early on? I think there could be something to that, but Shapiro has long been considered one of the front runners. I know by definition front runner is one person, but it's kind of been a back and forth between Gavin Newsom and Ben Shapiro. So running re-election for governor, which could set up his presidential run. Also, since we have breaking news on various campaign apparatus, FTA administrator, and I forgot he got this job at the FTA, Mark Molinaro. You remember Mark Molinaro ran for governor here in New York State. He was congressman for a while. He's eyeing a comeback, and he's exploring a run for Elise Stefanik's soon-to-be vacated House seat in upstate New York. Molinaro, a former Dutchess County executive and ex-congressman from New York's 19th congressional district, has been calling county chairs in recent weeks to gauge the viability of his candidacy. State Conservative Party Chair Gerald Kazar confirmed that Molinaro had reached out to him about potentially entering the race for New York's 21st congressional district and whether the right-leaning party would cross-endorse him. Mark asked me to be open to a potential candidacy. Molinaro currently serves in President Trump's administration as Federal Transit Administration boss. He had no immediate comment. Now we know Stefanik announced that not only would she no longer be running for governor, that she no longer was going to run for, or she wasn't going to in the first place, but that she isn't even running for re-election to Congress. Now there's a few other people vying for that seat already. Assemblyman Robert Smullen, Anthony Costatino, you may remember him, the owner of Sticker Mule, which is a printing and packaging supply company. He's also trying for Stefanik's seat. Now, Molinaro's potential entry into the race was already raising serious political, ideological, and residency questions among local Republicans, kind of accusing him of being a carpetbagger. What's interesting, and I like, in full disclosure, I like Mark Molinaro a lot, got to know him pretty well during his race for governor. years ago. Very nice guy. There is always the optics of moving to a different district to run for a seat. He does have some name recognition with his gubernatorial run back in 2018, but he recently lost in 2024 his re-election to Congress. He lost to Democrat Representative Josh Riley. Beyond his residency, GOP sources claim Molinaro's record was too liberal for Republican primary voters in the conservative-leaning district that Stefanik held. Molinaro, during the 2024 campaign, softened his opposition to abortion. He did not vote for Donald Trump in 2016, but did so after and currently serves in the Trump administration. One Republican source characterized Molinaro as liberal and failed politician who didn't even vote for Donald Trump in 2016 and is now a D.C. elitist trying to parachute into a district he has no connection to. Mark is asking for the president's support, a Republican insider said. So, kind of some interesting news this morning before we get into the case in Minnesota. We do have, in Minneapolis specifically, we know a little bit about Renee Nicole Good, who's been identified as the woman that was fatally shot. We're going to tell you what Trump had to say, what Kristi Noem had to say, what others had to say on the left. We do have some, I wouldn't say Venezuelan updates, but kind of things to point to. I'm going to go through a couple of other, when we come back from break, a couple of other kind of breaking stories and updates from past programs that I think are worth mentioning. Then we'll dive in to Minnesota. So stay with us. We're just getting started on this, what is today? Thursday morning edition of Frankly Speaking. It is 6:12, and we will be right back.
You don't have time to go to the gym? The health club is not an option? Come to Hesselson today and see why swim spas and fitness systems can fit into anyone's yard and budget. 12-foot, 14-foot, 15-foot, 18-foot dual temperature hot tub and swim spas are all on display in Hesselson's indoor and outdoor showroom. Try before you buy. 0% interest-free financing options are available on every Hesselson swim spa. Swim and exercise year-round and start making every day better. After 70 years, it's still fun to poke in the corners at Hesselson's.
Every January is New Year's Day at Cutler's. Stop in and receive phenomenal savings as our rock-bottom prices will be available for the whole month. We have pallets of 6, 12, and 20 mil LVT in stock, starting at $1.99 per square foot. Up to 50% off on all in-stock carpet and LVT. Take 10% off our already low prices for all special orders. Bring in your measurements or we can measure for you. Hurry in for the best selection, as these are the lowest prices of the year. Cutler's Carpet and Flooring, we have a buddy in the flooring business.
There have always been a few, ready to fight and win. Since 1775, these few have been Marines, and they come from across this land to defend the future of our nation. This year, our Corps celebrates 250 years, and Marines are proud to serve this country, each other, and all that is still to come for America.
More, lower prices. Simmons Rockwell. Make car buying simple when you drive your deal at a Simmons Rockwell location near you, where you'll always find more cars at lower prices.
Dante Brown.
The Frankly Speaking Roof Cam, brought to you by Boss Security and Horseheads. Contact them today for all your business and home security needs. We are back, broadcasting live from the Hesselson studio here on Marcus Street in Corning. A couple comments from viewers. How many of those 82% that believe the national debt is concerning think it exists due to fraud? Well, I mean, fraud does play a part in that, as we're learning about how many billions of dollars just in Minnesota alone were involved in the fraud with a daycare center. So I don't know. That did not specifically say it in the poll, but that's a fair question. Comment from another comment from the viewer. No one will elect Shapiro as president. Everyone knows there's a reason why he wasn't picked as VP candidate. Well, I don't know. I mean, I would, if you want to expand on that, there was a lot of reasons. I think one could have been that he didn't want it, seeing that you don't want to hitch your wagon. I think it's the same reason why Gavin Newsom wasn't picked. You didn't want to hitch your wagon to what most viewed as a failure of a campaign. And the reason I say that is before Biden dropped out, everyone said that Harris wasn't going to be the pick. Even if Biden won, she wasn't the successor to his presidency. So I don't think two people, Gavin Newsom, Josh Shapiro, both wanting to be president, I don't think either of them wanted to hitch their wagon to that failed campaign. That's one concept. The other concept, and Van Jones had said at the time that the Democrat Party was marbled in anti-Semitism, Josh Shapiro is Jewish, so some thought that Harris didn't pick him for that. But then you have Harris in her book saying that he was kind of a diva. I don't know. His name has been thrown around for quite some time, so that is why I bring it to you as he announces his re-election campaign. Okay. Comment from a different viewer, or from a viewer. That fraud isn't just in one state. We're hearing about just about every blue state and city right now. No, I agree. I don't think I said it was just in that state. I was just saying that's one example, and we're seeing the multi-billions in Minnesota. And we know Trump has cut off funding to 5 other blue states, one being New York, because there is an ongoing investigation into the fraud. Well, who said it? It was like organized crime. I mean, the fraud running rampant. So yes, I don't think I need to clear that up. I didn't think it was just in Minnesota, but if that's how it sounded, I did not mean that. J.D. Vance, we talked about his place being attacked in Cincinnati. He talked about it yesterday on Jesse Waters' show. He said that the person that attacked his home is probably a deranged left-wing person who wanted to terrorize his second family. Terrorize the second family, not his. Terrorize the second family. When it happened, I think everybody had the same reaction that we did, which is it's probably a deranged left-wing person who wanted to cause terror, or maybe worse, among my family. He said he was grateful for the first responders who did their job. The person's in custody, and we're still kind of getting to the bottom of the motive a little bit, but my guess is the same as yours. Left-wing violence is a problem in this country. Vance said, we have a real crisis where there are far too many left-wing people who don't want to debate, who don't want to disagree, who don't want to try to persuade their fellow citizens. They want to try to kill their fellow citizens, and that's a real problem. But despite the scary incident, Vice President Vance said, I signed up for this. My attitude on this stuff is whatever God's will is, whatever God wills. I'm going to do the job I have to for the American people. And, hopefully they're happy with it, and hopefully we do some good, and whatever God has in store, I accept. Now, yesterday, the Trump, and I'm not going to talk too much about this because it sounds like a very kind of a boring health class type topic, but Trump and his administration changing the food pyramid, turning the food pyramid upside down. Health and Human Services Secretary Robert F. Kennedy Jr. and Agriculture Secretary Brooke Rollins touted potential benefits in reducing chronic disease for all Americans, saying, we are ending the war on saturated fats, referring to products that are generally sold at room temperature like cheese, butter, and fat, and meats, which now are recommended to form the bulk of diets alongside meat and produce like carrots and broccoli. The recommendations will directly impact millions of daily meals served in America's public schools, military bases, prisons, and various federal facilities. Kennedy saying, today our government declares war on added sugar, highly processed food loaded with additives, added sugar and excessive salt, damage health and should be avoided. Diets rich in vegetables and fruits reduce disease risk more effectively than many drugs. Whole grain outperformed refined carbohydrates. These guidelines replace corporate-driven assumptions and will revolutionize our nation's food culture and make America healthy again. The hard truth is our government has been lying to us to protect corporate profit-taking, telling us that these food-like substances were beneficial to public health. Today, the lies stop. The new guidelines recognize that whole, nutrient-dense food is the most effective path to better health and lower healthcare costs. Protein and healthy fats are essential, and we were wrongfully discouraged in prior dietary guidelines. Also, we learned, and this could really, just as a warning, this could really affect the entertainment value of Frankly Speaking, because Dr. Oz tells us when it comes to the new alcohol guidelines, don't have it for breakfast. Okay, alcohol, this is what we learned yesterday. Dr. Oz explained the new federal guidelines recommending alcohol use in moderation, saying the takeaway should be don't have it for breakfast. Oh, man. Oz said federal officials are recommending moderation rather than completely quitting because booze facilitates social relationships which have beneficial health effects, saying alcohol is a social lubricant that brings people together. In the best case scenario, I don't think you should drink alcohol, but it does allow people an excuse to bond and socialize. And there's probably nothing healthier than having a good time with friends in a safe way. Now, the new guidelines only briefly address alcohol, urging readers to consume less alcohol for better health and to abstain if pregnant, using certain medicines, or experiencing or having a familiar history of addiction. The guidance revises prior calls for limiting alcohol to 1 drink per day for women and 2 drinks for men. So a little bit of change. I'm sorry if that affects your viewing of Frankly Speaking in the morning, but Dr. Oz is asking you not to have alcohol for breakfast. All right, and our last update before we talk about what happened in Minneapolis. Who watched The View yesterday? And I apologize that I didn't let you know. I knew that she was scheduled, that is Marjorie Taylor Greene. I knew that she was scheduled to be on The View. We never heard the final date to air. Well, apparently it was yesterday, so my apologies if you missed it. But Marjorie Taylor Greene rejected pleas, people begging on The View for her to become a Democrat. Joy Behar saying, so maybe now you should become a Democrat. Because she felt strongly about the issue of affordability, as if Republicans don't feel strongly about the issue of affordability. But so Greene's last day in Congress was actually Monday. And like we said, she's loving the spotlight. I know I'm running late on this, but that's okay because it's hard to segue into this without taking a break into the next topic. But we know she's been breaking with Trump lately, so she's loving the spotlight. She loves being on The View. Yes, do they ultimately still hate her? Absolutely. The fact that she has any Republican values, they would want to destroy that part of her. But Marjorie Taylor Greene saying it's Democrats and Republicans together that have put us in nearly $40 trillion in debt. I don't support a border invasion, meaning the Democrats' immigration policy. People like Lake and Riley were murdered because our border was invaded. I don't support those policies. Sonny Hoyston asked if Greene would become an independent or remain in the Republican Party. She said, I haven't said if I'm leaving the Republican Party, but my focus is America first. That's when Hoyston encouraged her, you could make a statement here. No, she's saving that. This is like Joe Scarborough. Remember when he made that grand announcement that he was no longer Republican and everybody said, we never really thought you were. Only when you wanted to get elected to Congress. That's when you were. But then when it better suited you in your career, you turned your back on the Republicans. So what? I think she'll save that for some big announcement, maybe on Stephen Colbert or some attention, some place to seek more attention where she'll be able to say, oh, now I'm an independent or now I'm starting a third party. Joy Behar then asked Marjorie Taylor Greene about spending and debt. She said, tell me if I'm wrong about this because I'm just a person who watches the news. I'm not a pundit. I'm not anything. Every time a Democrat president leaves office, we're in a surplus. And then when a Republican leaves, we're in a deficit. What? Excuse me? Yeah, you got to watch different news, Joy Behar. Alyssa Farrah Griffith said that it hadn't been true since former President Bill Clinton left office. And Greene added, that is absolutely false. Again, I just want to quote what Joy Behar said. Tell me if I'm wrong about this because I'm just a person who watches the news. I'm not a pundit. I'm not anything. Every time a Democrat president leaves office, we're in a surplus. And then when a Republican leaves, we're in a deficit. And by the way, if Alyssa Farrah Griffin wants to say that about Bill Clinton, that's because that's when the Republicans finally took Congress. But Marjorie Taylor Greene did say Joe Biden left office and we were $33 trillion in debt. The Democrats controlled Congress under Nancy Pelosi, spent trillions and trillions of dollars, and now it's gone up even more. I've said both parties. I'm the one saying both parties. You're the one defending the Democrat Party. Joy Behar agreed and said she was before adding, one is worse than the other. Let's put it that way. Co-host Sarah Hines, whoever these people are, asked if Green would ever become an independent and said she believed every politician should have to earn a vote. And Green said, I agree with you. So there you go. I'm sure she'll be back on. I'm sure she will maybe even get a job at an MSNBC, maybe a CNN. I know it's not MSNBC now, MS Now. Maybe she'll get an opportunity with CNN, or she'll be on one of those panels on the Sunday show. I think that's all I can think of when it comes to this hard turn that she's taken. Now, we know she quit Congress, and the exact date she chose was so she could have her full pension. But there's still a lot of issues there, and a lot of people who are siding with her, meaning the hosts of The View and others. At the end of the day, they still hate her. But there's something about that limelight, and Republicans historically have fallen for that trap of wanting the media to like them so bad. Not all, I'm not saying all, but there's always that certain group that just want to be liked by the media so much. They want to brag about their friends in the media. And Marjorie Taylor Greene seems to have went that route. But we got to take a break because I'm running real late. Stay with us. We'll be right back after this.
Give kids time. Just 5 minutes a day. Ask them how they're feeling. And listen. Kids time. Ask them how they're feeling. And listen.
Kyle just made a decision that would change his whole world.
Hey, you're sober? You drive.
Kyle just made a decision that would change his whole world. Drive sober or get pulled over.
My mom is a veteran and she was injured in the line of duty.
I hurt my leg in a training accident when she was only 2 years old.
She had 7 different surgeries over the span of 9 years, and there were tons of complications.
I couldn't be the mom my kids needed me to be.
She missed so much.
After my last surgery, I got an infection so bad I thought it was going to kill me.
I told her she couldn't leave me yet. There was still so much she had to see. I hadn't even graduated.
I'm doing much better now. I'm an active part of my kids' lives.
She can kick a mean soccer ball.
DAV's been there for me and my family. Through thick and thin, they've had our back.
Every year, DAV helps more than 1 million veterans like Sandy get the health and disability benefits they've earned, so they can achieve victories great and small.
My victory is getting my life back. I may have lost my leg, but I've gained so much. I got my joy back.
We got our mom back, thanks to DAV.
Support more victories for veterans. Go to DAV.org.
The Frankly Speaking Roof Cam, brought to you by Boss Security in Horseheads. Contact them today for all your business and home security needs. We are back, broadcasting live from the Hesselson studio. Let's go to some viewer comments, shall we? Mark writes in, I missed part of your show. I was making a margarita. Could you repeat it? Thank you. That made me laugh pretty hard there, Mark. I appreciate that. That's in reference, if you're just joining us, I'm wondering what the reasoning is for Mark to be making a margarita this morning. Dr. Oz says the new alcohol guidelines don't have it for breakfast. A different viewer writes in, so I got to stop putting Budweiser on my Rice Krispies? This stinks. Thank you very much. I knew there was a reason you guys all watched the program. You're all feeling good out there. Also, Marjorie Taylor Greene is a new Liz Cheney. I would agree because, again, Liz Cheney was always weird because of how they treated her father. Was just sickening. And then for her to want to, the media, coddle up to them, I never understood it. Marjorie Taylor Greene, same way. They said vicious things, not just about her politics. They'd go after her wardrobe, her looks, just very sexist attacks on her. And yet here she is, going to The View, loving this attention. I don't get it. Comment from a different viewer. Watch The View only when I want to get sick. I clean it up a little bit because people could be eating breakfast or having their first adult beverage. Thank you for everybody making me laugh this morning. Ken writes in a very thoughtful comment here. A tale of two shootings. One, after the Democrats and legacy media have incessantly told the sheeple that ICE is illegally and indiscriminately arresting and detaining citizens, a woman, probably thinking she was protecting people from the criminal ICE agents, was screaming at ICE and blocking the street with her car. The agents identified themselves as ICE. She was told to get out of the car. She was warned to not move the car. She wouldn't comply, and she drove forward, hitting an agent with her car. Then the agent fired on the car. The woman unfortunately died of a gunshot wound. I suspect that there will be a trial and that there is a strong possibility that this ICE agent will go to prison. 2. After Trump told protesters to peacefully and patriotically march to the Capitol, an unarmed woman took things a little farther than she should have by trying to enter the Capitol building by climbing through a window. A Capitol Police saw her climbing through the window and shot her without seeing a weapon, without the officer being in danger, without ordering her to stop, without identifying herself to the police. And all of this was confirmed by the other officers and people in the area. She died from the gunshot. The Biden DOJ decided to not press charges against the officer and protected by housing him on a military base at taxpayer expense to keep him safe from the public and not allow any media outlets to interview him. And to add insult to injury, the officer was promoted in 2023 from lieutenant to captain. The left wants you to believe that ICE is the criminal element because removing illegal immigrants hurts their chances of bolstering votes for the Democrats and reduces the possibility of getting vast amounts of money laundered through NGOs and social programs by pulling on the heartstrings of compassionate Americans. Thank you very much, Ken. And on that, there is a new video angle of the deadly shooting by an ICE agent in Minneapolis, which appears to show the driver of the SUV strike the officer with her car before he opened fire through the open window. The wide-angled footage, which appears to have been filmed from a second-story window or rooftop directly across the street from the shooting, shows the deadly use of force from a different perspective as the local officials slammed the agency as reckless, meaning ICE as reckless. The driver of the Honda Pilot, identified only as a 37-year-old woman, we have more information on that in just a moment, crashed her vehicle into a white car parked about 100 feet away after the shots rang out. So the woman trying to mow down federal officers in Minneapolis was fatally shot, is what Homeland Security is saying. We're going to hear from Trump here in just a moment. Department of Homeland Security also said, it was Public Affairs Tricia McLaughlin, said the driver had weaponized her vehicle, attempted to run over our law enforcement officer in an attempt to kill him, calling it an act of domestic terrorism. How do I want to word this? The woman who was gunned down has been identified as Renee Nicole Good, a 37-year-old who described herself as a mother, a wife, and a poet. Good was identified by her mom hours after she was shot and killed when she clipped an ICE agent with her car during a protest against the federal agents. Well, we're not going to go through every single quote here, but the video appeared to show her Honda Pilot making contact with an ICE agent as he opened fire. President Trump and other officials have said Good's killing was justified as the officer was acting in self-defense. I know that I believe they said wife, kind of blaming herself in that one video, saying, I asked her to come to this, I shouldn't have done this. They went through her social media posts. I don't think we need to go through all that. You can find quite a lengthy piece at the New York Post if that is what interests you. Good was among several people who allegedly blocked the streets with their vehicles to prevent the ICE agents from moving. Agents got out of their blocked trucks and ordered a woman to move her SUV, at which point she sped toward one of the officers, pushing him with her vehicle. As he spun toward the driver's seat window, he fired 3 shots into the car. Footage from numerous angles show. She was shot at least once and later pronounced dead at the hospital. The Department of Homeland Security called her a domestic terrorist. What's all that noise? As I mentioned earlier from that comment. Footage taken near the scene appeared to show a distraught woman who identified herself as Good's wife, that's where the information came from, who sobbed as she said the shooting was her fault and that she had a young child at school. They shot her in the head. I have a 6-year-old in school. I made her come down here. It's my fault. They just shot my wife. So after the shooting, DHS and Minnesota officials share contrasting accounts. We've seen a lot of people, a lot of contradictory things, only because you have some trying to politicize it, kind of to Ken's point. We had the mayor, Frey, who, wow, the language. He pushed back on the Department of Homeland Security's narrative at a news conference, saying they are already trying to spin this as an action of self-defense. Having seen the video myself, I want to tell everybody directly that is, and we'll say baloney. Witnesses described seeing the woman in the vehicle trying to flee officers when she was shot, disputing the notion that she was trying to run officers over. Police described her as a middle-aged white woman. We already went through all that. So it depends really on what outlet you go to. That specifically, I believe this was from NBC News. CNN saying, oh wow, I got to take a break already. CNN saying DHS said a woman attempted to run over ICE officers before being shot in Minneapolis. Here's what the video shows. This according to CNN. In one video posted online of the shooting, a woman can first be seen in her car, which is still and perpendicular in the middle of a street. The officer who would soon shoot the woman can be seen walking behind her vehicle toward the front of the car. Another person who is not wearing a uniform can be seen following that officer and appears to have been filming on their phone. Two federal officers in a truck then pull up to the car as the woman was waving her hand out the window. The officers exit their truck and approach the woman's car, saying, "Get out of the car." You get that point. One of the two officers can be seen pulling on the woman's driver's side door as the other officer reaches the front of the car from the other side. The car then starts to move in reverse as one officer continues pulling on the car door and the other officer is in front of part of the vehicle. The vehicle begins to move forward, and at the same time, the third officer who approached the car pulls out his pistol and points at a woman while moving away from the front of the car. Now, we know, however you want to say it, whether you hit the agent, clip the agent, they're trying to downplay that that is a part of the video. A video from a different angle seems to show the car making contact with the officer before he fired his gun the first time. The first video doesn't capture the car making contact with the officer, but his body is seen moving out from the front of the vehicle and to the driver's side of the car. All right. We're going to tell you what Walls had to say. We're going to tell you what many of the politicians, the pundits had to say, but we are running late. The most important thing here is your comments, viewer comments. We have great conversation going with all of you, so keep it coming in, and we will be right back.
You don't have time to go to the gym? The health club is not an option? Come to Hesselson today and see why swim spas and fitness systems can fit into anyone's yard and budget. 12-foot, 14-foot, 15-foot, 18-foot dual temperature hot tub and swim spas are all on display in Hesselson's indoor and outdoor showroom. Try before you buy. 0% interest-free financing options are available on every Hesselson swim spa. Swim and exercise year-round and start making every day better. After 70 years, it's still fun to poke in the corners at Hesselson's.
Looking for pre-owned vehicle you can trust? Blaze Alexander Family Dealerships has over 2,000 quality pre-owned vehicles ready for you. Cars, trucks, SUVs, every make, every model, every budget. All inspected, reconditioned, and backed by a team that puts your peace of mind first. After the sale, using the latest technology, our certified technicians deliver dependable, honest service you can trust. Over 2,000 pre-owned vehicles, 18 locations. Blaze Alexander Family Dealerships. We're taking deals the other guys won't.
Can you help me?
Mom, Dad, we're going out.
Thank you.
Oh, look, they're playing chess.
What you got there?
Will you help my mom?
She's real sick, huh? Hey, crew, I'll give the first move to anyone who signs up to be an organ donor. How do you do it?
Easy. Just go to organdonor.gov.
You heard them, organdonor.gov.
More donors means more hope. Sign up at organdonor.
The Frankly Speaking Roof Cam. Brought to you by Boss Security and Horseheads. Contact them today for all your business and home security needs. We are back, broadcasting live from the Hesselson's studio. We have so many comments from viewers. I appreciate your statement on Tim Walz that I cannot repeat on the air. I appreciate that. Climate Fact Friday, Bob teasing us, saving it for tomorrow. We got a Climate Fact Friday, Bob, Fact of the Week, Friday Fact of the Week tomorrow. And I appreciate it, Bob. And saying, you're right, alcohol is not a good choice for breakfast. I didn't say it. Dr. Oz said it. I'm no doctor. All right, let's go to some viewer comments. I thought if you helped someone who broke the law, you yourself just broke the law. They all should be arrested, meaning the protesters at this event shutting down the roadway. Comment from a different viewer. What she did was stupid and she swiped 2 agents before she was shot. The video is pretty clear, and the sad part is if she had just moved, she probably wouldn't have been arrested. She ran from a law officer command to stop. Thank you very much. Comment from a different viewer. 100 federal agents have been targeted by people trying to run over them in the last year. Another comment. Good morning, Frank. Good morning. It's sickening to watch the talking heads spin the event in Minnesota to match their agenda. Once again, it's tragic that it played out the way it did. I agree. But this officer's life will be ruined for just doing his job. The woman would be alive if she just complied. It's simple. It's as simple as that. I would agree. And it's a tragedy no matter how you look at it, because that person who was doing their job, their life is ruined. They are going to be public enemy number one. We've seen this historically. When the facts come out, and even if he's exonerated and everything's okay, his life will be ruined, unfortunately, because that's the media. They have taken on that role of doing that. So yes, there will be that story of when we learn about that ICE agent. Comment from a different viewer, and it's tragic no matter how you look at it. I totally agree. And finally, I'm getting ready to pour my first cup of coffee. Do you think I should add some whiskey to it? No, Dr. Oz says no. Alcohol's fine except for breakfast. So save it for brunch. All right. Now, Tim Walz did say, I know, sorry to the viewer who doesn't want me to read it, but I do have to mention it because it ties in with how this all led up. So you have what was essentially a protest that led to this tragedy. Now, Tim Walz saying at his press conference that protesting ICE is, quote, a patriotic duty at this point in time. He did not mention that the woman who was shot allegedly drove her vehicle into an ICE agent during the incident. Walz then claimed Trump does not care about Minnesota and said there is nothing more important than Minnesotans' safety before, again, encouraging these protests. The desire to get out and protest and to speak up to this administration of how wrong this is, that is a patriotic duty at this point in time. Now, I'm sure Tim Walz, and I hate to look at it from a political standpoint because at the end of the day, it is a tragedy. A young woman lost her life. But Tim Walz is hoping this takes away from his scandal. That the spotlight, and it gives the media a great opportunity to take the spotlight off of him and the huge fraud that was happening under his quote-unquote leadership. Take that spotlight off of that, which they never really had the spotlight completely on it, but they were forced to report after Trump cut back funding on daycares, and then especially after he decided not to run for re-election. But this gives the media an opportunity to kind of deflect and move on. Now, speaking of those protests that Tim Walz was encouraging, within hours of a Minnesota protester being fatally shot, a familiar network of far-left protesters that have causes ranging from communism to climate change mobilized across the country. It's amazing how fast they can move. Almost immediate, various groups with causes as diverse as socialism, communism, climate change, Palestinian rights, and the Democrat Party launched what seemed to be a coordinated protest online and in American streets using similar language. Yeah, they're all kind of interconnected. They get the text, they get the email, move, get out there. The effort by left-wing groups with no obvious shared cause echoed protests over the weekend when many of the same groups sprang into action after Maduro was arrested, or captured, I should say. It's the same network of people that have thousands of Americans blocking the streets, waving communist and terrorist flags, and attacking law enforcement and innocents, said Brandy Shafutsky, the Director of Education National Security Program at the Foundation for Defense of Democracy. They are stoking the grievance industry that they built. While authorities said an investigation was underway, the protest groups were quick to brand the killing a murder. A sentiment analysis of relevant social media posts by left-wing groups showed the graphics and emotional language used in the post was designed to provoke moral outrage and mobilize people to take to the streets. For example, posts told people to get in the streets now, hit the streets, and get to the White House ASAP. Others wrote, "The state is the enemy, the state is the murderer, resistance is justified." That's from the organization Fight for a Future. You don't need to go through all this, but you understand this coordinated effort from these far-left groups that seem to spring up in protest at any event. The capture of Maduro, they're out in full force, even waving flags about Palestine and anti-Semitic statements, which had nothing to do with Maduro. But we're going to talk more about this. This is not going to be the full program this morning. I just want to, but you can keep commenting on it as much as you would like. But there are some big New York State issues I have to mention. I do want to talk a couple of updates on Venezuela. So stay with us. We'll be right back with Frankly Speaking here on WYDC TV, Big Fox.
You've been putting back a few, and a few becomes a few too many. For a moment, you think about calling for a ride. Nah, you live nearby. What's the worst that can happen? You get pulled over, your insurance goes up, you lose your license, you total your car, you kill someone.
Give kids time. Just 5 minutes a day. Ask them how they're feeling. And listen. Kids time. Ask them how they're feeling. And listen.
When a child is fighting a critical illness, one truth touches us all. Every child deserves a childhood. A wish sparks a ripple of hope that transforms communities far and wide. And when we grant wishes together, we create a movement of kindness, strength, and unity. Become a wish maker today and be part of a journey.
The Frankly Speaking Roof Cam, brought to you by Boss Security and Horseheads. Contact them today for all your business and home security needs. We are back, broadcasting live from the Hesselson studio, talking about Minneapolis. Mayor Jacob Frey, wow, the language on these people. He slammed, we'll call it baloney, fatal shooting at an anti-ICE protest in the city. He said it on CNN. That, and I'll say it again, is baloney. That is baloney. It's twice he said it. The way they've been conducting themselves is also baloney. And we need to be very clear-eyed about what is happening. Frey suggested that Good was trying to take a three-point turn when she was shot. That's the talking point. I didn't know that. He argued her actions were clearly not done with any sort of intention to run someone over. You don't need a legal degree to know that that doesn't authorize a use of deadly force. Ilhan Omar, who's been, again, I know it's in her district, so I know she has to talk about it, but Ilhan Omar and Tim Walz want to focus on this because it takes the attention away from their fraud cases. So they're using some rhetoric, we'll say it that way. Ilhan Omar described an ICE agent shooting a woman in Minneapolis as murder caused by state-sanctioned violence. There might be new information coming out, but it is a completely tragic day for us here in Minneapolis and in Minnesota. To see this kind of terrorizing of our community really is. It's harmful. And I pray for the loved ones of Renee today as they are dealing with the loss of life in their family. ICE has been carrying out state-sanctioned violence in our communities. We have seen them terrorize so many citizens in the 5th District and across Minnesota. And that has tragically led to this murder that we all watched on TV. And so it is not helpful for us to have ICE agents unlawfully just carrying out these ridiculous raids that are not resulting in any sort of arrest. They have no explanation of why they are there. They're disturbing peaceful communities. They are just trying to live out their lives. And I join our mayor and our senator in asking them to get the heck out of our city. She also said that President Trump, and I'll tell you what he had to say on Truth Social here in just a second, but Omar said, well, that's an incredibly delusional statement. We've all seen the video. We've seen it on multiple angles. You can see no ICE agent falls to the ground. No one is run over. So to rewrite something that is still so visibly available on everything that people can see just shows how disturbingly delusional our president has become. But the people have their own eyes. They can make their own judgment. And certainly when this investigation is over, we're going to know really what has taken place. And I hope that that leads to accountability. Chuck Schumer, our senator, saying on MS Now's The Briefing, we should not have ICE agents patrolling our streets. They're not needed. They create chaos, and they even create deaths. And they don't belong in our cities, plain and simple. He also added, we need a full investigation here as to what happened. I'm appalled by what they do. I have repeatedly voted for many different restrictions on ICE and the FBI, and I believe that the committee will consider it in a very serious way. We'll tell you what Trump had to say when we return, what Kristi Noem had to say. A couple other quick things on this. We have other topics we'll be getting to at some point in the next hour, so stay with us. We'll be right back with Frankly Speaking here on WYDC TV, Big Fox.
You lather, rinse, moisturize, repeat, and repeat. But it never feels like enough. It's not your products. It's your water. Hard water leaves a mineral residue that clogs pores and dries out hair. Culligan water softeners remove damaging minerals, revitalizing brittle hair and dry skin. Upgrade your shower and skincare routine with Culligan, water you love.
At the Corning Painted Post High School Learning Center, we provide students with a variety of community-based and academic opportunities and a fresh start. Located on the Corning Community College campus, students earn high school credits and gain real-world experiences through community service, internships, art partnerships, and work opportunities, experiences they value for a lifetime. Our students find a place to reconnect and succeed. The Corning Painted Post High School Learning Center, turning fresh starts into future success.
Thousands of North Atlantic right whales used to swim along the east coast of the United States and Canada. Collisions with ships and entanglement in fishing gear are killing these magnificent animals every year. They could go extinct in your lifetime. But there's hope. If we act now, before it's too late, join Oceana to save North Atlantic right whales from extinction.
The Frankly Speaking Roof Cam brought to you by Boss Security and Horseheads. Contact them today for all your business and home security needs. We are back broadcasting live from the Hesselson's studio. So in regards to Minneapolis, President Trump weighed in on the ICE shooting, saying on Truth Social, I have just viewed the clip of the event which took place in Minneapolis, Minnesota. It is a horrible thing to watch. The woman screaming was obviously a professional agitator, and the woman driving the car was very disorderly, obstructing and resisting, who then violently, willfully, and viciously ran over the ICE officer, who seems to have shot her in self-defense. Based on the attached clip, it is hard to believe he is alive, but is now recovering in the hospital. The situation is being studied and in its entirety, but the reason these incidents are happening is because the radical left is threatening, assaulting, and targeting our law enforcement officers and ICE agents on a daily basis. They're just trying to do the job of making America safe. We need to stand by and protect our law enforcement officers from the radical left movement of violence and hate. Now, they're saying that contradicts what Minneapolis Police Chief Brian O'Hare said when at a press conference said, we arrived and found a woman with a gunshot wound to the head. Life-saving measures were performed at the scene, including CPR. The woman was transported where she has been since pronounced dead. The preliminary information that we have indicates that the woman was in her vehicle and was blocking the roadway on Portland Avenue, midway between 33rd Street and 34th Street in the city. At some point, a federal law enforcement officer approached her on foot, and the vehicle began to drive off. At least 2 shots were fired. The vehicle then crashed on the side of the roadway. Minneapolis police officers secured the crime scene and assisted in trying to preserve the evidence that is there. Now that, I would say, contradicts what, if they're going to say that he contradicts what Trump said, I would say it contradicts what the video shows. That makes it sound like she was just trying to get out of the way. It does not appear that way. Kristi Noem, of course, Homeland Security Secretary, was discussing this. I'm trying to find out where it was at. It was during a press conference. She said that Renee Nicole Good had been stalking and impeding on the agency's lawful operations in the hours leading to her death. The DHS chief said a car rolled up on ICE vehicle that was stuck in the snow alongside a mob of agitators that were harassing them all day and attempted to block the agents. ICE officers approached the woman in the rogue vehicle, later identified as Good, and ordered her to move. Noem alleged that Good opted to, quote, weaponize her vehicle in a, quote, attempt to kill or to cause bodily harm to agents. She slammed Good's alleged attack as an act of domestic terrorist, just one of 3 she said took place in Minneapolis on Wednesday. It's unclear where or when the other vehicle rammings happened. Noem said the fact of the matter is, he's an experienced officer. This is in reference to who the ICE agent was. He's been in situations like this before, and he certainly has been out there and followed his training today. She said the same officer was previously dragged by an anti-ICE rioter in a similar attack in June. More than 100 of these vehicle rammings against federal officers have been reported over the last few weeks. It's clear that it's being coordinated. People are being trained and told how to use their vehicles to impede law enforcement operations and then to run over anybody who gets in the way while they go out there and try to disrupt peace and public safety. Americans deserve better. We have a little bit more about this and then we're going to tie it in with kind of the reason why there's a lot of attention on Minnesota, but we'll tie it in a little bit with updates on Walls, and the fraud going on there. We're going to talk about New York State issues. We are also going to be talking with Amy Harpster in the 7 o'clock hour about St. Baldrick's Greenough basketball game that's happening on Friday that you're not going to want to miss. So we'll do that in the 7 o'clock hour, play that interview in the 7 o'clock hour. All right, stay with us. Keep the great comments coming in. We've had great conversations this morning, and I do really appreciate it. Feel free to weigh in on any of the issues. I know there's other issues as well. There's also some breaking news that we will probably hopefully get to at some point. We have a lot to cover and a short time to get there. So stay with us. We'll be right back with Frankly Speaking after this.
Nearly 500 kilos of cocaine has been seized in a bust.
Thousands lined the pier at Seneca Harbor. Race weekend brought thousands to Watkins Glen International.
Hundreds and Horseheads joined other cities around the country on Saturday for the No Kings protest.
Insurance companies don't make money by paying claims. They make money by denying them. They hire doctors to say you're not that hurt. They bring in lawyers to chip away at your case. They stall, they argue, they cut corners, because every dollar they save is another dollar of profit. At WYDC Injury Law, we know their tactics, and we fight back with facts and evidence. If you've been injured in New York or Pennsylvania, call 607-500-HURT. Don't let the insurance companies control your story.
Livingston,
And we welcome you to hour number 2 of Frankly Speaking here on WYDC TV Big Fox. I'm your host, Frank Acom. We are broadcasting live and proudly from the Hesselson's studio. So we're talking about the shooting in Minneapolis. The New York Post put together legal experts. Andrew C. McCarthy, the former chief assistant United States attorney in the Southern District of New York, noted that to him, video footage of the event leading up to the shooting does not appear to show Renee Nicole Good trying to intentionally run over the ICE agent who fired the fatal shot. But regardless, when Good sped away in the direction of the officer, she was committing an assault. Even if the woman was mainly trying to get away, which is what it looks like to me, she was engaged in an actionable assault on a federal officer, a felony under Section 111 of the Federal Penal Code. The legal expert noted that even if Good's car did not strike the agent, it could be considered assault. To constitute assault, there need not be battery. If the agent is put in a reasonable fear of imminent harm, that's enough. In fact, in this instance, unlike in my case all those years ago, if the assault or intimidation is carried out with a deadly or dangerous weapon, the penalty is up to 20 years imprisonment. That's a weighty felony offense. Even if you believe, as I'm inclined to believe, based on what we've seen so far, that the woman was just trying to get away, she did so by swiping the car in the agent's direction. So may not have intended to run him over, but she sure didn't appear to be trying to avoid running him over if that was necessary to escape. As for the ICE agent who shot and killed Good, he is unlikely to face charges because regardless of the driver's intention, the officer's life was jeopardized and his use of force was justified. It is settled Fourth Amendment law that a police officer may use deadly force against a fleeing suspect if he has a good faith belief that the suspect poses a significant threat to death or serious physical injury to the officer or others. Here I believe the driver was in the act of committing a dangerous assault when the agent opened fire. And the driver's reckless operation of the vehicle, coupled with the fact that she was heedless of harming armed law enforcement agents as they were carrying out their official duties, underscores that it was reasonable to believe she posed a serious threat to the agents and others. Now, the New York Post editorial board, kind of piggyback off of that, says, remarkably, Minnesota Governor Tim Walz is right. Wednesday's deadly shooting in Minneapolis was, quote, so preventable, so unnecessary, that protesters didn't need to be blocking ICE agents in the first place, let alone gunning her SUV at them. The left bears full blame for this bloodshed. This, again, I want to hear your opinion on it coming from the New York Post. Her car hit the agent before he shot her. He wound up hospitalized. Attack someone with a deadly weapon, that's attempted assault in the eyes of the officer, even if it wasn't intentional. So this is what happens, especially when you target a federal officer who's simply doing his job. Homeland Security spokeswoman Tricia McLaughlin was entirely right to call this an act of domestic terrorism. Yet Walz and Minneapolis Mayor Jacob Frey rushed to blame Team Trump for attempting to enforce the law. Yes, it was aggressive for the feds to deploy some 2,000 immigration agents to Minneapolis this week, but far more aggressive for protesters to try to block them. This follows months of Democrats cheering law-breaking protesters, calling for resistance to ICE as if it weren't a duly constituted law enforcement agency. They didn't even drop that lunatic language after it inspired a guy to open fire on a Dallas ICE facility, ironically killing 2 illegal migrants. Various lefties are tracking and live posting federal agents' location, as well as doxing their personal information, including addresses where their kids live. The last year has seen hundreds of attacks on ICE and Border Patrol agents, all too often egged on by elected Democrats. That madness has to stop. Anyone who doesn't like how the law is enforced is free to work to elect different leaders and to advocate for different laws. If you absolutely must object, then do genuine, orderly civil disobedience and go peacefully off to jail afterward. Mayor Frey's instant demand that ICE get the blank out of Minneapolis is tantamount to inciting riots and utterly disgraceful. He and Walz need to start calming the waters, lest more bloodshed follow. If the civilians had just left the law enforcers alone, Renee Nicole Good would still be alive. Now, we've talked, I know there's so many comments, so many different opinions. Yeah, as this one viewer says, she did bump the guy and eventually shot her, if you look at the video. That was before he shot her. Yes, absolutely. I mean, that's why the mayor has really, and the police chief is really misrepresenting what we see with our own eyes. Now, this ties in because we've been talking about Minnesota. Just quickly, and we can continue to talk about this. Feel free to weigh in. I know it is a major topic, and rightfully so. I'm more than happy to continue to talk about it, but tying it in with Minnesota, Vice President J.D. Vance said that the fraud scandal, and don't think for a moment Walz isn't going to use this, and I hate to use that term, but that's what he's going to do, use this shooting to deflect and to try to take the spotlight off of the fraud scandal. But J.D. Vance saying that the fraud scandal reflects a larger scheme and that the Trump administration believes there is a nationwide fraud ring perpetrated by illegal aliens and others taking advantage of the American welfare system. Anybody who is involved is going to be prosecuted. The vice president's comment came after Trump paused over $10 billion to 5 Democrat-run states. We've talked about that. Vance also saying, Vice President Vance, I think Tim Walz should resign. I almost feel bad for the guy, except for the fact that he should have seen this. He called Minnesota's scandal a massive failure of government. It's not just that people are getting welfare who shouldn't get welfare. It's bigger than that. It's that people take this money and create whole businesses around siphoning money from the American taxpayer. He went on to accuse California of being glaring and obvious about the fact they're giving welfare benefits to illegal aliens. So that's J.D. Vance. The House oversight hearing over the fraud allegations, I guess, turned into kind of partisan shouting, according to CNN, saying it went off the rails and calling for decorum. Lawmakers testify Minnesota Governor Tim Walz failed to investigate fraud. That the committee said they sounded the alarm on the fraud years ago. Hudson testified he had no doubt whatsoever that Tim Walz knew about the fraud as it occurred. The Tim Walz administration has utterly failed to protect Minnesota taxpayers and vulnerable citizens, ignoring years of credibility. Years of credible reports, excuse me. Some suggest Democrat leaders had political incentive to cover up Somali fraud in this hearing. I think there was. You had a lot of money being donated to their campaigns. You wonder how some of these people got rich. It's a question that I think it's fair to ask. Lauren Boebert said uncovering fraud on this massive scale would have hurt the 2024 Democrat vice presidential candidate. That's a great point. Democrats raised concern over racism towards Somalis and Muslims, which is interesting. So you see the other people addressing the facts and the matter, saying this was fraud, cost taxpayers billions. The governor knew about it, and Democrats shift it to making it about Somalis and Muslims and a potential racism towards them. That is one of the reasons why they said this wasn't originally exposed, because no one wanted to expose it and be called anti-immigrant, or Islamophobic. Robbins denied what she called fake allegations of racism and Islamophobia regarding investigations of fraud in Minnesota. Crime is crime no matter who is committing it. It is true that the majority of the fraud in Minnesota has taken place in the Somali community, and it is also true that some of our best whistleblowers are from the Somali community. Republican Representative Jim Jordan of Ohio called the racism allegations a template. You see this all the time. The left will tell the lie, the media will report the lie, or not report when the truth comes out, and then when you tell the truth, they call you a racist. Democrat Representative Rashida Tlaib, one of the first Muslim women to join the U.S. Congress, asked okay. I know they like to always have kind of historic benchmarks, but now a historic benchmark is one of the first Muslim women to join the U.S. Congress, asked the Minnesota lawmakers to keep investigating fraud, but to be cautious of their work being applied as a racist trope. So yeah, that's a wink, wink, nudge, nudge. Yeah, look into that fraud, but you get too far into that fraud and we're going to call you racist. That's exactly what she's saying there. Do your job, but don't allow your job and what you're doing to be utilized as a racist trope. That all Somali Americans are criminals, that Muslims are demons. It's incredibly dangerous. Is that what anybody's saying? Anyway, do you want to hear more about this? We have a lot more that we can discuss. But Walz's team was accused of shutting down probes and actually harassing whistleblowers in the scandal. That was during the hearing. Kristen Robbins, saying there was an Office of Inspector General within Minnesota's Department of Human Services that had investigative authority to do surveillance warrants and seize electronics, and they were shut down. They were told they could no longer do criminal investigations. They were told they could no longer meet with the Bureau of Criminal Apprehension agents that were assigned to them without supervisors' approval. Probably enough on that, but Minnesota Democrats blocked auditors from tackling the avalanche of Somali fraud, and they actually blacklisted the whistleblowers. That's what we learned yesterday. Jason Chavez saying Democrats turned our treasury into a piggy bank for fraudsters. The real culprits aren't just the fraudsters. They're the architects in Washington who built these machines of waste. As Doge dismantled fraudulent networks and clawed back funds, the lesson was stark. True reform means designing systems with fraud proofing from the start, not as an afterthought. Until then, the Treasury remains a target, not for both sides equally, but for those who innovate ways to raid it under the guise of good intentions. Okay, so there's kind of, I guess, your Minnesota update. Keep your comments coming in. Keep your waves coming in. We've got a couple of kind of updates from past shows in Venezuela. I want to talk Venezuela. Hopefully we get to New York. New York we can kind of breeze through. There's not a ton there. But yesterday was the first day of session, and the focus was on national politics, on fighting Trump, essentially. We'll talk about that. Read your comments when we return. Stay with us. We will be right back.
Well, it's strained.
It is?
It's a repetitive motion injury. Do you do this a lot?
Well, I do give out a lot of checks. Now, what about this pain in my back?
Tender, huh? Do you play any contact sports?
Thank you.
Wow! That explains it. Stick to friendly nods for the next couple of weeks.
Sometimes, one moment changes everything. When a wish is granted, a child with a critical illness replaces fear with confidence, sadness with joy, and anxiety with hope. You can transform lives one wish at a time. Support Make-A-Wish and help grant more life-changing wishes. Learn more at wish.org.
Yeah, hello. I'm really not sure if this is what you all do, but I really don't have anywhere else to turn.
Hi. I don't even know why I'm calling right now. I'm sorry. My thoughts are going a mile a minute.
My kids are out of state. My buddies from the Army are all gone now. I'm really alone.
I left the service last year. My mom just passed away a few months ago. I miss so much time with her. I keep getting calls about the bills, and I'm trying to get a job, but I feel so stuck.
Okay, ma'am. I'm glad you called.
Okay, sir. Let's stay on the line and walk through some things.
Thanks.
Okay.
Thanks a lot.
Frankly Speaking Roof Cam, brought to you by Boss Security in Horseheads. Contact them today for all your business and home security needs. We are back, broadcasting live from the Hesselson studio. So many comments to get to. I appreciate that. We've had some great discussions this morning. Coming up in a little bit, we're going to be talking with Amy Harpster from St. Baldrick's Greenough basketball game coming up on Friday. All right, viewer comments. Good morning, Frank. Steve here. Hi, Steve. It's amazing how people are still living in the past, where they still feel as though they can do whatever it is if they want, and they're going to get away with it. We actually live in a world today where people that are doing wrong are actually being held accountable for their actions. Thankfully, it's coming at a critical point in time where if people don't finally realize that their actions speak louder than words. For as long as it is, Democrats continue to feed the fuel of the fire for hatred. People feel as though they have a purpose. But they don't realize, what they don't realize is that they're just being used as pawns so politicians can get away with inciting the violence that they are helping to create. There needs to be a resolution that can finally hold politicians accountable for the words that they say, and not only that, their actions of helping to incite the violence. Thank you, Steve. Mark writes in, I was invited to a teletown hall by Congressman Nick Langworthy. I was on the phone a half an hour waiting for my turn, and I listened to 3 people rant and rave about everything going on. They were Democrats, I could tell. So to make a long story short, I hung up. I had had enough. Well, you raise a good point, Mark, because remember, there was quite a conversation that we had on this program a while ago about Republicans holding town halls. And I said they're not done in good faith, and that's a prime example. The people that were calling in and on a rant, they didn't want to actually hear what the congressman had to say. They just wanted to scream, yell, and make their point. So the town hall, in-person town halls are really pointless because it's not done in good faith. It's not done to have a conversation and to learn, maybe convince your congressman, your side of things. No, it's to yell and shout and maybe make a viral video where you can show that you screamed at your congressperson. So that proves that if it's even happening on the teletown hall. So I appreciate it. Ken writes in, my wife has started seeing pictures of the ICE agent and his car on social media. They want people to harass him and his family. You know what concerns me before I go on, Ken? Sometimes when it's a breaking news story, people with devious motivations will post pictures of someone that isn't even the actual person. I'm not saying maybe this is in this situation, but we've had that happen where someone goes viral that this is a person that did this, and then we find out later that was some innocent bystander or it would be some comedian trying to make a name for himself. So I'm always weary of that, especially on a breaking news story, but I'll continue because that's obviously their goal, is to get that person harassed, doxxed, intimidated. Obviously, this is not a new tactic of the left. They want to get their way by making people afraid of doing their jobs or speaking out against them. Yes, in many cases, they want people, not just someone like this, but in general, you to self-censor. So if they can scare you at, look what we can do to this person, maybe it'll scare you from not saying anything. In the larger picture, I fear what this country will devolve into in the future. What kind of country will we be leaving to our children? Trump is an anomaly. The era of Trump is soon coming to an end, and unfortunately, there isn't another Trump standing in the wings. When the Democrats get back in control, I fear that socialism, Marxism will be dramatically on the rise. I'm certainly not a political genius, but common sense tells me that the only chance we have to stop the path that the Democrats want to take us down is to rein in the corrupt legacy media. The media needs to be forced to tell the American people the truth. Yeah, I mean, look at the way the media is handling this story. They are not reporting on what's happening. They're telling you what to believe. You're exactly right, Ken. And yeah, Trump's a one and done, meaning there's not ever going to be another Trump. Well, I mean, do I think J.D. Vance would make a fantastic president, or Marco Rubio? Absolutely. But it's still not going to be with the kind of flamethrower tactics that Trump uses and the energy that Trump has. That's just, it's a once in a generation, once in a lifetime. I would agree with you. So it does make you concerned, and we see, and even at New York, at the New York level, but we see it at the national level, the rise in socialism. The reason I say New York is because I saw a piece right here. New York socialist lawmakers, inspired by Mamdani's win, aim to seize on the new session, because in Albany they're in session. The Democrat Socialists in the New York State Legislature are returning to Albany for the start of the new season with one fewer member, because Zohran Mamdani. I can feel the whole movement locking in, said State Senator Jabari Breezeport of Brooklyn. After years of talking about taxing the rich and universal child care, he said we are in a political moment where we can actually seize the opportunity and push really far on these fronts. This session will test whether Mamdani and the handful of state lawmakers aligned with the Democrat Socialists of America can gain widespread support. I think you will, and there's a piece here that we may be able to get to a little bit later on, but I got to take a break because we want to talk with Amy Harpster. But Governor Hochul is concerned about a primary challenge. She's concerned about people going to her lieutenant governor and the already established primary challenge, maybe even have a third party with the Democrat Socialists of America. She's concerned about this. So will she lean in to the socialist agenda, because we know she goes any way the wind blows. I personally think she will go far left into the socialism arena, because she doesn't have the challenger that she had with Lee Stefanik, where she had real concerns. Whatever you think about Blakeman, I'm not trying to always badmouth him. I don't think Hochul is as concerned as she was when she was facing Stefanik. So I don't think she has to worry about going far left. And if that keeps a primary challenge off of her, or keeps people from supporting her already, a primary challenger, I think she's more than willing to do it, because she'll do anything that's politically expedient. By the way, to the viewers, said good morning. Good morning to you, too. All right. By the way, Trump greenlit a tough Russia sanction bill, according to Senator Lindsey Graham. He announced it yesterday. After a very productive meeting today with President Trump on a variety of issues, he greenlit the bipartisan Russia sanctions bill that I've been working on for months with Senator Blumenthal and many others. This will be well-timed, as Ukraine is making concessions for peace, and Putin is all talk, continuing to kill the innocent. He said the legislation will allow Trump to punish those countries who buy cheap Russian oil, fueling Putin's war machine. It would also provide the president with tremendous leverage against countries like China, India, and Brazil to incentivize them to stop buying the cheap Russian oil that provides the financing for Putin's bloodbath against Ukraine. Also, there's a piece here on NBC where Republican leaders are now pushing back on Trump's openness to using the military to take Greenland. All right. Anyway, we've got some things about Venezuela, but when we return, we're going to be talking about we're going to be talking with Amy Harpster. She's going to be our guest, because coming up on Friday, it's the St. Baldrick's Green Out. Corning Hawks take on the Horseheads Blue Raiders. As you see all the information there, and it goes to benefit in many ways, through awareness, through financial support. It goes to benefit St. Baldrick's. We'll hear all about it when we return, so stay with us. This is Frankly Speaking, here on WYDC TV, Big Fox.
Give kids time. Just 5 minutes a day. Ask them how they're feeling. And listen.
Month after year after year, even decades, you've paid into the insurance system. You've done your part. But when you're seriously injured in a car accident or another tragedy, that system turns its back. Insurance companies care more about pumping up profits and stock prices than paying for your medical bills, your lost wages, or your recovery. At WYDC Injury Law, we fight to make them pay what's fair. If you've been hurt in New York or Pennsylvania, call 607-500-HURT. Don't let the insurance companies win.
Small businesses are the heart of America. Like you, these entrepreneurs started out with a dream and the drive to build a better life. If you have a small business idea to grow or challenge to face, you don't have to go it alone. Since 1964, SCORE has helped millions of entrepreneurs build their businesses. Today, they are the nation's largest nonprofit source of expert mentoring, resources, and education. Whether you're starting out, building back, or have worked at it for years, SCORE will match you with specialized mentors. Our thousands of volunteers provide the guidance and connections you need for free. Your success is waiting. SCORE is ready to help. Find a mentor today at SCORE.org.
WYDC TV is proud to provide informational and educational programming for children. For complete details, go to this address.
Welcome back to Frankly Speaking, here on WYDC TV Big Fox. I'm your host, Frank Aiken. We are broadcasting from the Hesselson studio. And in that studio this morning, we're talking about St. Baldrick's Green Out. Welcome to the program.
Thank you.
What is St. Baldrick's Green Out? We all know about St. Baldrick's and the hair cutting. We look forward to that every year and hearing the news. But what is the Green Out?
So this is kind of our kickoff event for the St. Baldrick's, the big shave event that we have later on in March. This will be the third year that we've done the green out at the high school JV and varsity basketball games. We've done it with the Horseheads, against the Horseheads team each year. We always get a really big crowd for the Horseheads Corning game. So we found that was a great way to get people out and just get the word out about St. Baldrick's and get some support started for that organization.
Well, that's wonderful. And it's also nice to get the young people involved. I know they do at the shave off or whatever it's called. Is that right?
Right, yeah.
So it's great to have them get involved and see how important St. Baldrick's is. How's the planning for the event itself going?
It's going really well. This year's shave event will be on March 14th, so we're still, in the beginning phases of working all that out and getting the word out about that. But we are certainly accepting, people that are willing to shave at that event and get some teams started and that kind of thing.
So talking about the green out, there's a couple of really special things because you've got rivals playing, like you said. This is a big game no matter what. But then you've got these special events. Tell us about Hoops for Hope Challenge.
So at the JV game, we are having the principals from each of our elementary schools in Corning and a student from each elementary school in Corning, and they have a shootout at the foul line, and it's like 30 seconds. So it's kind of as a competition between elementary schools. Whoever can get the most foul shots within that 30 seconds, and then all the kids that participate get a gift certificate from Rico's, so we thank them for supporting that, and then the winner gets some St. Baldrick swag and things like that. So it's a lot of fun. The kids love it. It gets people out to the game, and we do that at the JV game this year.
And I bet that gets competitive between the principals and the students.
They are more competitive than the students, I think.
Well, they've got to go back to school on Monday and answer for losing if
right,
they lose,
exactly.
Right? So, and again, this is coming up. You see on the bottom of the screen this Friday from 5:30 p.m. is the JV tip-off, and then 7:15-ish, obviously, varsity tip-off.
Yes.
And then, so you talk about the JV, and then on the varsity game, you have the half-court challenge. Tell us about that.
Yes. So this is the first year we've done that. So you can buy $5 gets you a chance to have your name drawn for 5 chances to get a shot from half court.
Oh, wow.
And if you win, you get a $150 Amazon gift card, and that's been donated by the seller.
That's wonderful.
So again, we've got a lot of community support, which is really wonderful.
Now, if you know you'd embarrass yourself on the half-court shot, can you just buy the tickets for a donation?
Or you can just give a donation, because we'll just take donations too. That's what I would do. I wouldn't even want to try that.
I don't want a crowd seeing me.
No.
Think of the pressure of that. But I'm sure you'll get a lot of people to sign up, because let's face it, when that happens at like an NBA game, how much fun is that to watch?
And that's kind of where we got the idea. Yeah.
So you said this is the third year. When you come up with new ideas, you're coming up with new ideas all the time. How long is the planning process for this, specifically Green Out?
We usually start meeting in September, just to kind of get our heads wrapped around things and see what kind of things we might want to do each year. So we try to do more than just the shave event. The Green Out kind of came about from that, and we do a couple other events too prior to that March 14th day.
Well, for a PR aspect of it, you've got a big crowd that's going to see it, and it's great to spread the word about St. Baldrick's, like we said earlier, and getting young people involved. You are recommending that people wear green to the game. Yes,
we do. We're doing a district-wide. I teach at the middle school, so a couple of us that are on the planning committee are teachers in the district. So we're doing a district-wide Green Out on Friday. So cool. We have people that will be coming on Friday to take pictures and all that kind of stuff. Last year, some of our pictures from our Green Out last year were actually picked up by the St. Baldrick's Facebook page, and they've used them in their promotions too, just because it's something a little bit different to raise awareness beyond just shaving your head, which is certainly not for everybody.
I know. That's why I was nervous about having you on the show.
I'm eyeing you up a little bit.
I know. That's why I was hesitant to ask you on the program. How long have you been involved with St. Baldrick's?
I've been involved probably about 9 years, I think, 9 or 10 years. Yes, wow. And we've been doing it in the Corning area since 2009. My kids that are now 19 and 22 started participating in it when they were little. So that's kind of when I kind of became aware of it, and students that I have at school were participating in it. And then decided to get on board and help out with the planning as well.
For people that are overly familiar, I think we all know the name St. Baldrick's, and like we said, they know about the shave off. Tell us about St. Baldrick's and why you wanted to get involved.
Well, like I said, my kids got involved first, and I, being a teacher, I'm around kids all the time. I've had students that, that have had cancer and that have benefited from St. Baldrick's research and things like that. So it's important to me from that regard. And, I think one of the main reasons that I started getting involved when I taught at Northside back in the day, there was a girl that she was in 7th grade. She had really, really long hair, and she decided to shave her head. And I was like, so amazed by her that really, I was like, if a 7th grader, a 7th grade girl can do this, I can do more to support this cause. And that was kind of my motivation as well.
There's a lot of dedication for that. That's amazing.
And I've shaved my head. I think this will be my 8th or 9th year.
Really?
So yes.
Wow, you're getting used to it now.
I am. It's like a thing now.
Well, you're doing it in March, so the weather's starting to turn a little bit, so it's a little bit warmer. So is there any help that you need, or is there any way we can get involved for Friday's event?
So for Friday's event, please come to the game. It's free admission. We're collecting donations, though. We'll also have some St. Baldrick's merchandise, some T-shirts and things like that, if anyone's interested. In purchasing any of those things, everything goes straight to St. Baldrick's, the Corning Area St. Baldrick's organization, which, is our chapter, I guess you'd call it. We do have a Facebook page as well, if anyone wants to follow us there.
I'm glad you said that. I'm going to put that up on the screen right now because we have the QR code while you're talking. I didn't mean I didn't want to interrupt you.
Absolutely.
But I definitely want to put that up on there we go. There's all the information for Friday. So you have the Facebook page to find out more, and that keeps people updated throughout the year, I'm assuming.
Yes, and that'll be other events that we're doing as well, other fundraising events, other, the main event that we're doing, anything like that.
And you said that's in March, typically, right? The St. Patrick's, it's right around St. Patrick's Day?
We usually do it around St. Patrick's Day,
How do people get involved? Maybe they show. And by the way, don't be a wimp. Sign up for the half-course shot. That's what I'm going to tell everybody.
Definitely.
If you attend, you have to give it a shot. How do people get involved with St. Baldrick's? Because obviously it is an amazing organization. If they want to just participate throughout the year, not necessarily shave their head, but they want to be a part of it.
Even if you sign up on our team page on the St. Baldrick's website, you can sign up as a volunteer or as a fundraiser participant. So there's other things you can do. There's a woman at my school and her son, they're making bookmarks and they're selling them. And they're doing that for St. Baldrick's. They just... that was something they could do together. But they're giving the money to St. Baldrick's. So anything like that, we're really trying to branch it out more than just the head shaving.
Now, let me ask you about the head shaving real quick, because I don't know this. Do people, when they get their head shaved, are you raising funds for it, almost like a walk?
It's kind of like, I'm going to shave my head. Will you support that kind of thing? Yes.
I always wondered how that worked, because I know you raise a good amount, and it's something that people look forward to seeing the pictures. And I remember certain individuals that I know that got it, and it was a big deal. It's wonderful. Well, I wish you best of luck, and I know it's going to be a fun game anyway. You've got the rivalry between the Hawks and the Blue Raiders, and that's going to be fun on its own. Stay, obviously, during halftime. Don't leave your seat, because you're not going to want to miss it. So best of luck. Keep us posted on everything, especially with the shave off and anything else you do in the future, okay?
Absolutely.
All right,
Thank you so much. Appreciate it.
We'll be right back with Frankly Speaking. Stay with us.
Hi, this is Tom Witzel, owner of Hesselson's in Amara Heights. At Hesselson's, we care about your well-being and overall health, whether it's relieving stress, muscle recovery, increasing circulation, or just revitalizing the body. Hesselson's now has 2 complete line of infrared and traditional rock saunas in our new and expanded showroom. Come in today and see why owning a sauna is a start of your new healthy lifestyle. Hesselson's is still locally and family-owned and operated in Amara Heights. After 70 years, it's still fun to poke in the corners at Hesselson's.
Kids time. Ask them how they're feeling. And listen.
United Way fights for the health, education, and financial stability of every person in every community. Will you?
Did you know that children
Children growing up with poor air quality have smaller lungs and higher rates of asthma than children that grow up with good air quality. And unfortunately, poor communities have poor air quality. IQ Air Foundation is working to change this. Today, the IQ Air Foundation provides filtration technology to schools with poor air quality through our Clean Air for Kids program. Our goal is to help over 50,000 school children every year breathe over 90% cleaner air indoors, helping to level the playing field, reduce barriers to learning, reduce sick days, and increase test scores. Mitigating poor air quality is key to environmental justice. Help Clean Air for Kids reach more children at IQAirFoundation.org.
The Frankly Speaking Roof Cam brought to you by Boss Security in Horseheads. Contact them today for all your business and home security needs. We are back broadcasting live from the Hesselson studio here on Market Street in Corning. We want to thank Amy Harpster for being our guest this morning. Make sure you attend the St. Baldrick's Green Out this Friday. Corning Hawks take on the Horseheads Blue Raiders. JV tip-off 5:30, varsity tip-off right around 7:15, and the halftime sounds like it is going to be a lot of fun. So stick around. All right. The United States will control Venezuelan oil sales indefinitely. That's according to Energy Secretary Chris Wright. He asserted the U.S. will market and sell Venezuelan crude with proceeds held in U.S.-controlled accounts that he said can flow back to Venezuela. Instead of the oil being blockaded, as it is right now, we're going to let the oil flow to the United States refineries and around the world to bring better oil supplies, but have those sales done by the U.S. government. And we know yesterday that they took out, what was it, how many oil tankers? It was the one that was kind of a back and forth. It was two. There was two more tankers that carry Venezuela oil, bringing the total to 4 since imposing a blockade last month. One vessel was taken in the Caribbean Sea. The other, which was empty, this kind of ghost fleet, was boarded just south of Iceland following a 2-week chase during which the ship secured an escort from the Russian Navy, registered under a Russian flag, and changed its name. According to CNN, Venezuela must meet certain demands from the White House in order to resume oil production. It is being, and this is anonymous sources, that Delcy Rodriguez, the interim president, must cut ties with China, Iran, Russia, and Cuba and work exclusively with the U.S. on oil production. Rodriguez must also favor the Trump administration and U.S. companies for future oil sales. The White House wouldn't confirm or deny those terms. Meanwhile, a senior U.S. official told Axios, we need to get the oil flowing out and the money going back to Venezuela without it being stolen. Now, the Post says kudos to President Trump for clamping down on the ghost fleet tankers that flagrantly dodged sanctions on rogue nations like Venezuela and Iran. On Wednesday, the U.S. military and Coast Guard took control of those two tankers, as I mentioned. A gambit Moscow was rushing in forces to back up as Vladimir Putin again showed his true colors. The Biden team sanctioned that one ship, the Bella 1, in 2024 for carrying black market Iranian oil. Trump is simply enforcing the law here, taking action to support the liberal international order. Dovish politicians the world around love to impose sanctions as an alternative to military force against rogue regimes. They seem oh so civilized, but they're meaningless without enforcement, which still requires force. It's like the liberal solution of ever stricter gun regulations, rendering useless if they won't lock up people caught breaking the law. Trump is showing the world what real sanctions entail, one that aren't just simply waving your finger. But he should know Moscow's behavior. Putin didn't just let Bella 1 slip into a Russian disguise. He reportedly dispatched a submarine and other naval assets to chaperone the ship back to Russian waters. And after the ship's capture, the Kremlin demanded that Russian nationals on board be returned to the motherland. The White House response was more or less fat chance, with Press Secretary Carolyn Leavitt confirming that the crew will be subject to prosecution. Let's hope this becomes a new Team Trump habit of treating Putin as the snake he is. So there's kind of your quick updates from yesterday. Democrat Senator Mark Kelly, who has been in the news quite a bit lately, as we have mentioned, avoids saying Maduro's arrest and the Venezuelan strike was illegal. He avoids the term illegal. Now, we know he's in some hot water with P. Hegseth. P. Hegseth trying to, lower his rank, trying to cut his pension. He previously appeared in a viral video urging service members to reject what he called illegal orders. He then hesitated to join fellow Democrat lawmakers that called the Venezuelan strike illegal. He's got himself in a little hot water with that video. He's got to be careful what he calls illegal and legal. Kelly said, so what we were talking about in that video is about a service member being given a specific order and having to make a decision about whether this is lawful or not. And this is like the reasonable person theory. What you're getting at is constitutional questions. Can a president try to do a law enforcement action on a head of state, but use 150 airplanes and the full force of the U.S. military to do that? So these are two different things. Now, Maduro is a bad guy. Of course, you've always got to start with that if you're making a talking point. It's true, but then they go on to say, but. Now, Maduro is a bad guy, and it's good that he's gone. It seems like this president, because he had no plan beyond removing Maduro, has now installed Maduro's number 2 person in Delcy Rodriguez. You know, that's what we call in the Navy fleeting up with the executive officer becoming the commanding officer. That's the situation we have in Venezuela right now, and it's because I don't think they had a plan of what was going to come next. But again, refusing to specifically call it illegal, knowing what the intent, what that would mean in regards to his original video that has gotten him in so much hot water. Now, at CNN, they said Trump scored a win with his raid on Venezuela, giving a little credit, but always got to have that but in there. But the U.S. is now responsible for the country's future. In the weeks to come, there is risk for the White House that its brutal flourish of U.S. power in the early hours of Saturday is undermined by a failure to follow through. A potential strategic defeat snatched from the jaws of a spectacular but short-lived win. In a matter of minutes during Saturday's press conference, Trump's flex of American might flip-flopped from asserting U.S. control over Caracas to moments later conceding that the vehicle for this was the presumed cooperation of Maduro's longtime deputy, Delcy Rodriguez, who has since been sworn in as acting president. So that is now kind of the talking point or the criticism because Delcy Rodriguez is put in there. Okay, so they were against it. It's illegal. And then even though now it's successful, it wrapped up wrongly. It's kind of difficult to follow, difficult to track. But Danielle Battle says the U.S. must sever any links to the Maduro regime if it plans to fix Venezuela. 4 days after the extraordinary capture of Maduro, reports of life under Rodriguez are grim for Venezuelans who hope for change. And we've already heard about some of that. Pro-regime armed gangs roaming Caracas, searching for anyone who might have been celebrating Maduro's downfall. Journalists were getting hauled in and later let go. Political prisoners remain locked up, despite some holiday releases before Maduro got nabbed. The unfortunate decision to work through the existing power structure reflects the unique situation Trump now faces in Venezuela. And what she, an adjunct fellow at Hudson Institute, says, the capture of Maduro was an astounding military and intelligence triumph. But history will judge Trump by what comes after. The real question is whether the U.S. can facilitate durable change in Venezuela or whether we'll simply swap one authoritarian arrangement for another. The U.S. partnership with Rodriguez may be necessary as a short-term measure, but it cannot be normalized and it cannot come at the cost of change. Trump currently has leverage and momentum. He should use both of them wisely while he has them. James Carville, the raging Cajun himself, says that the U.S. would be ripe for an invasion if targeting corrupt regimes were legitimate. It's sad that Carville has now stooped to the level of using the same talking points as Jasmine Crockett, the one that they give so much credit to for helping Clinton be successful in his run for president. James Carville is now echoing the statements of one Jasmine Crockett. Carville saying, look, if it was legitimate to invade a corrupt and an attempted authoritarian nation, then we better get troops on San Francisco and Boston and all up and down the East and West Coast, because we would be ripe for invasion if somebody wanted to overturn a massively corrupt regime, which is, in my opinion, which we have here right this minute. And I think it's unfolding right in front of us. Brilliant commentary. I think we should certainly hammer who benefits from this operation. We're doing all this. Who's going to be the winner? Is a deputy sheriff in some rural Iowa going to be the winner here? Is a dental hygienist in western Montana going to be the winner here? I don't think so. You're not there. There are no shoe clerks in this poker game, and you're not in it. It's not going to affect your life. In fact, it could very well adversely affect your life because you're saying international order. We're saying international order doesn't matter. Wow, that's how bad it is. So, congratulations to James Carville for copycatting Jasmine Crockett. Jonathan Turley says, and this ties in, the impeachment obsession returns as Democrats recycle their lawfare to fire up the base. With the country's economy improving and other issues losing traction with the public, Democrats are increasingly turning to the one thing lacking in Washington, impeachment. As they work to take back the House in the midterms, Democrats again promise voters the equivalent of the Roman games by restarting impeachment proceedings against President Trump. For many liberal voters, impeachment has become the thrilling cage match of lawfare. And I like Jonathan Turley a lot. We quote him a lot. So I thought it was worth mentioning his piece. You can find it at Fox News. That it always returns to the lawfare, the impeachment. They've already called for impeachment over this. And even there's a Democrat, anonymously, I think it was reported in Axios, saying, can't we see something like the capture of Maduro as a positive thing? Not saying that they have to praise Trump 24/7, but why do they have to criticize this move and actually end up looking as if they're siding with the Venezuelan or former Venezuelan dictator? There's a piece on this, an opinion piece by Ingrid Jacks. When we return, then we're going to talk about New York. We don't have a lot of time, so we've got a lot to cover. Stay with us. We'll be right back after this quick commercial break.
Give kids time. Just 5 minutes a day. Ask them how they're feeling. And listen.
Having a safe home is essential to many aspects of our lives. From a sense of community and safety, to physical and mental health, to economic security and independence. Most homes in our communities are not accessible and are not designed to accommodate the changes that come with age, including the risk of falling. The Older Adults Home Modification Program helps reduce the risk of falls, improves safety, and increases accessibility and independence. Through this program, Rebuilding Together works with older adults to provide no-cost preventative home repairs so our neighbors can safely age in place in the homes and communities they love. To learn more, visit rebuildingtogether.org/safeathome.
WYDC TV is proud to provide informational and educational programming for children. For complete details, go to this address.
The Frankly Speaking Roof Cam, brought to you by Boss Security and Horseheads. Contact them today for all your business and home security needs. We are back broadcasting live from the Hesselson studio on Market Street in Corning. Ken writes in and he says, my wife just showed me a social post that sums up the events of yesterday perfectly. A middle-aged white woman in Minnesota just threw her life away to protect third world criminals. Cause of death, liberal brainwashing. Thank you, Ken, for that. Talking about, does sum it up. Thank you. The USA Today opinion piece says, here we are, it's 2026. The midterm elections are just 10 months away. And Democrats seem just as clueless as always. Their constant shrieking over everything President Trump does or doesn't do leaves them without a plan of their own and often makes them look like hypocrites. Case in point, the Trump administration's recent bold move to capture Venezuelan dictator Nicolas Maduro and hold him accountable. Whether you like how Trump carried out the operation, what shouldn't be hard to acknowledge is that Maduro terrorized his citizens and made a mockery of democracy by rigging his country's elections. Venezuela in the United States and around the world, Venezuelans in the United States and around the world are celebrating what Trump did. It wasn't long ago that many top Democrats criticized Trump for not talking strongly enough or taking strong enough action against Maduro. In 2020, for example, Chuck Schumer said that the president brags about his Venezuelan policy. Give us a break. He hasn't brought an end to the Maduro regime. In October of 2020, Senator Chris Murphy said the best thing that ever happened to Nicolas Maduro was Donald Trump. Trump's Venezuelan policy has been a total disaster, strengthening Maduro's grip on power and frittering away any chance at a democratic transition. And then, not to be left out, Joe Biden posted, Trump talks tough on Venezuela, but admires thugs and dictators like Nicolas Maduro. As president, I will stand with the Venezuelan people and for democracy. Now that Trump has taken decisive action, Democrat politicians seem to have forgotten how horrible they once thought Maduro was. Even some moderate Democrats realize this is making them look weak and silly. Several battleground elected Democrats anonymously told Axios they disagree with the approach, saying the party lacks nuance when it comes to reacting to Trump. I think it looks weak. If you don't acknowledge when there is a win for our country, then you lose all credibility. And speaking of credibility, Democrats don't have much to lose. The past year has shown record low approval rating, and they keep falling. A Quinnipiac University poll from December found 18% of voters approve of the way Democrats in Congress are doing their job. That means 73% disapprove. Among Democrats, just 42% approve of their own party. By contrast, the poll shows 35% of voters approve of Republicans in Congress. 58% disapprove. And within the GOP, voters give their members a much higher 77%. This all spells bad news for Democrats hoping to take back control of Congress. And while they're still posting higher rates, around 4%, on the 2026 generic congressional ballot, that percentage is less than half of what it was heading into the 2018 midterms during Trump's first presidency. None of this means that Republicans are off the hook. While the second Trump administration quickly came in and got the border and illegal immigration under control, many voters are still waiting to feel that the economy has improved. Trump has promised that America will start to feel the impacts of his administration's economic policies in the coming year, but he's going to have to start bringing receipts. This surprise involvement in Venezuela may confuse Trump voters who thought the president would be putting domestic issues first. Secretary of State Marco Rubio has made a strong case for why removing Maduro is good for our country, especially when it comes to the growing involvement of adversaries like China, Russia, and Iran in Venezuela. That is a legitimate concern. But if Trump expects the American people to get on board when they are more concerned about affording their daily lives, he's going to have to do a better job of explaining the urgency of the mission. Democrats are a mess. If Republicans lose to them in November, it will be their own fault. I thought it was an interesting point. We're going to wrap up with New York issues. When we come back, get your last-minute comments, questions, criticisms in. We'll be right back.
What better way to start or end every day than relaxing in your very own Hesselson's hot tub? Massage therapy, relaxation, stress reliever, pain management, soothing muscles, or just spending time with a loved one. Hot water therapy really does make every day better. Hesselson's has been a part of this great community for over 70 years, still being locally owned and operated. So make the drive to Hesselson's and start making your path to a better life today. And after 70 years, it's still fun to poke in the corners at Hesselson's.
Kids time. Ask them how they're feeling. And listen.
Everyone has a community, a neighborhood, school, place of worship, or other chosen groups. Communities can provide support when you need it, including helping your kids avoid underage drinking and other substance use. Learn more at talktheyhearyou.samhsa.gov.
Walk in Mess is so uplifting. You see how the community rallies around us, saying we're going to fight this thing with you, no matter how long it takes or what it takes.
I love the energy at Walk MS. It is community, it is family. I can ride that high for the rest of the year.
A cure is on the line for me.
A cure is on the line for all of us.
The Frankly Speaking Group Cam brought to you by Boss Security in Horseheads. Contact them today for all your business and home security needs. Okay, sorry. We're broadcasting live from the Hesselson studio. Ken writes, I think the comment you read saying that left's comments make it seem like the Democrats don't have a plan is not accurate. The Dems do have a plan, and they're pushing it every day. It's Trump and the Republicans are bad, and Democrats are good. You're right. That is the game plan come November. Hey, at the statewide level, thank you, Ken. At the statewide level, oh, what do we got? A reminder? What do we got? Okay, a reminder just being sent in from a viewer. There'll be a special meeting at the town of Corning, January 13th at 6 p.m. for the town board. The town board of Corning will meet on Tuesday, January 13th at 6 p.m. to review audit findings and decide next steps. This meeting will be held at the Corning Town Hall, 25 South Elm Street in Corning. The public is invited to attend. Thank you very much. Thanks for sending that. I will make sure to continue. I'm going to mark that as unread, and I'll continue to promote it. Okay, fighting the feds is the main concern of our friends in Albany as the new session begins. There's more about Trump than worrying about you and I, the residents of New York. Hochul, this is what we talked about early in the program. Governor Hochul will be forced to walk a tightrope in Albany this year as Mayor Zohran Mamdani's populist wave has emboldened lefty lawmakers who aren't afraid to use her Democratic primary challenge as a weapon. Progressive lawmakers spoke with the New York Post, warned Hochul could face political blowback if she crosses red lines, such as proposing major changes to the controversial criminal justice statute, raise the age. So now she can't even though she signals she might look at it, she can't even look at raise the age. It could drive more left-wingers in the state, Senate, or Assembly toward the camp of Lieutenant Governor Antonio Delgado, who's going up against her to seek re-election. This is the problem. Hochul is so wishy-washy. I don't see a scenario where she doesn't cave to the far left demands. She's already inching towards it when it comes to Mamdani's demands. Making policy changes to it, nobody wants to touch that in the legislature, said Brooklyn State Senator Jabari Brisport, who's a Democrat Socialist of America. I was proud to be the first person. Somebody got to be first, but there's more coming. Others, like Progressive Assembly member John Riviera, said he was standing by Hochul, but that she needs to do more to counter the Trump administration, such as expanding SNAP benefits and opening health insurance options for non-citizens no longer subsidized by the feds. Kathy Hochul is the right person to lead the state right now in this challenge. Well, she's going to go far left. There's no surprise there. By the way, in Albany, how am I doing on time? Okay, top Democrat Andrea Stewart Cousins is backing a proposal to make New York more of a sanctuary state. Senate Majority Leader Andrea Stewart Cousins endorsed the goals of a bill prohibiting cooperation with ICE, the bill we've talked about in the past called New York for All. So Andrea Stewart Cousins signaling support for that proposal. By the way, Zohran Mamdani's privileged woke tenant advocate that we talked about quickly yesterday. You see, she broke down crying when asked about her hypocritical comments, how her mother has a $1.7 million house in Tennessee. She broke down crying when asked simple questions by reporters. And there's an opinion piece that says Mamdani's new tenant advocate wants to seize private property. Socialists keep dreaming up of collectivism as New Yorkers suffer from unserious housing policy, but we deserve to know her actual beliefs, says the Post editorial board. By the way, the majority of Jewish New York City voters feel threatened with anti-Israel Mayor Zohran Mamdani in office, according to a new poll. If you watch Jeopardy, the host Ken Jennings says the 2028 candidate who vows to prosecute Trump's regime has his vote. So that will be the litmus test. There's a couple litmus tests we learned. The Democrat has to say they'll prosecute Trump, and they also have to say they'll tear down the ballroom. Those are the two that we've heard thus far. But that does it for today's edition of Frankly Speaking. Thank you to Amy Harpster for being our guest. Don't forget, the big game is tomorrow. Don't miss it. It's going to be a fun one. So we appreciate her being on the program, and I appreciate all the comments this morning and all the great conversation. As always, it's been a great one. We will see you tomorrow morning, starting at 6 a.m. for Frankly Speaking, only on WYDC TV, Big Fox. I look forward to it already.
Looking for a pre-owned vehicle you can trust? Blaze Alexander Family Dealerships has over 2,000 quality pre-owned vehicles ready for you. Cars, trucks, SUVs, every make, every model, every budget. All inspected, reconditioned, and backed by a team that puts your peace of mind first. After the sale, using the latest technology, our certified technicians deliver dependable, honest service you can trust. Over 2,000 pre-owned vehicles, 18 locations. Blaze Alexander Family Dealerships. We're taking deals the other guys won't.